are you ready to take a walk or a leisurely jog on the wild side? Because that's where we are.
Hi, Johnny.
So you can ignore Johnny here,
Yes.
right?
Oh, how I wish I could enjoy. I could do that.
You following
But nope.
Johnny triggers a series of events that leads you to the Chocobo Sam side quests.
Yeah.
But if you ignore Johnny, he doesn't get mixed up in the Tifa stuff. So, yeah, basically talking to Johnny here lets you, basically it clues Johnny into the fact that Tifa is here. And Johnny, being Johnny, runs off going all, I'll save you, Tifa, and heads straight to Don Corneo's place. And so he finds out about the same things you're going to find out about the trio and about the conditions for getting into the audition for Don Corneo's wife of the hour. And, yeah, so basically Johnny just blazes a trail of shenanigans throughout the entire storyline if you talk to him here. And,
Didn't we tell him to leave town and never come back?
Well, technically, he's in a different town.
He did leave the sector, yeah. So
yeah, I mean, even in the original game, what was it, Jessie? He said that she refers to the different sectors as different towns. She even says that they all used to have names, but nobody remembers them anymore. So I think that was an aspect of Midgar's history that they eventually just dropped.
I'm glad they kept the machine and gun sign for the shop.
Well, sometimes you need a machine and sometimes you need a gun.
Machine
And if you
and
need those things together at the same time, that's why we've got giant robots.
Okay, yeah, that's a pretty realistic example of what English on Japanese signage reads like.
Yeah, so all of those pranks that you'll see on TV or whatever where, the dumbass jock gets a Japanese character tattooed on his back and he thinks it's tiger or dragon and it's actually ham or toenail. That's that's what happens in Japan where people will just be wearing a shirt in English that they think looks cool and it just says shampoo on it.
Yeah. Or what's the Justice League knockoff where it has Shrek and a Power Ranger and stuff on it? It's
That's right.
the Do Good Squad or something like that.
Something like that.
There's also one where it's Harry Potter, but Sonic's on it, but he's also different colors.
Too.
And they're part of the Avengers.
Abroad in Japan has 3 whole videos on crazy English signage in Japan, and he has this skit where he's talking between 2 versions of himself, and one of them has a markered on Japanese character tattoo, and he says it reads "Honor and Courage Eternal," and then the other version of him looks closely and says, "You see, that's not actually what it says. It actually, translated literally, it reads, I long for horses."
Hey, man. Same. But, I always enjoy those kind of things because, it's funny to us as native English speakers, but I wonder if there's any equivalent here where Ted was mentioning the ham and toenail tattoos. So
yeah, no, that you see them on TV all the time. There's at least 2 different episodes of Law and Order I can think of where they're in Chinatown, and you have this guy and he's got a Chinese tattoo on him, and he's just it actually says dumbass or whatever. And I'm sure that happens all the time because that somebody, some drunk white kid in college wanders into Chinatown in the middle of the night.
Let's just say, for the sake of privacy, his name rhymes with Ned.
Anyway, the white-haired dude that we just met is Leslie, and you might notice.
Also, I love the Dark Souls doors here.
Yeah.
That's right.
Anyway, you might notice that Leslie, in spite of apparently working for Don Corneo, is low-key trying to tell you not to mess with Don Corneo. Don't bring your girl here; it's gonna be a mistake.
He probably just doesn't feel like having to do the paperwork to put another contestant into Don Corneo's little.
Well,
thing.
he's not the one who decides that in any case, but it actually ties into Leslie's story later on, because Leslie is working for the Don to get close to the Don so he can get revenge on the Don for basically doing everything to his own girlfriend that he's afraid will happen to Aerith if you guys go in there. So yeah, it's a pretty grim storyline.
How tall?
Yeah, not to the point. It's not alluded strongly now, because at this point I just figured, okay, he's just a prettier version of that dude that blocked the door in the original.
Yeah, it's a slow build up to what Leslie's deal is, but he winds up cooperating with you, in trying to bust Tifa out. It's actually pretty clever how they wove this in, because it was never explained in the original game how your big ass sword and all your equipment came with you into the manor. Well, Leslie brings it to you.
Oh, I always just assumed
So-
that they don't notice that kind of crap because they throw you in jail and you get to keep all your weapons.
Also,
and
all your
RPGs.
equipment. Also, all your equipment slurps into you whenever you're in overworld mode.
I've read fanfiction novelizations of Final Fantasy VII. Obviously, none of them got anywhere close to complete, but good ones, where the writers actually know what they're doing. And they come up with all sorts of weird explanations for how Cloud gets his weapons into the manor when he disguises himself as a woman. Like, he hides his sword in this ornamentation that he's got on his back or something. It's interesting that they just added they added a completely new character with a completely new side plot, ostensibly just to have an explanation for how Cloud's sword and armor and how the girls' regular clothes got into the manor with them so that they could get changed before the sewers.
A lot of modern games are better about this, but just back in the 16-bit and PlayStation 1 games, people just didn't care.
Yeah.
Like, I think Chrono Trigger, I think they bothered to remove all your items when you get put into
in the
jail at the beginning, but they don't when you get put into jail later in the game, after Chrono is not in the party for reasons.
You mean the one in the past in the
when Dalton arrests you.
Dalton.
Yeah, you just still have your stuff.
I mean, they also explain that Dalton's an idiot, so
Yeah, that's true. But they do, when you have the trial scene earlier in the game, they do actually remember to take your crap away.
Dalton's an idiot, but of course he's the one who engineers the downfall of the entire Heroes Party between games. I'm not making that up.
yeah. Let's not talk
Yeah.
about how Cross and Trigger
I
interact.
think at this point, Chrono Trigger 3 is the white whale of video games in the way that a Knights sequel was for a very long time, or this Final Fantasy VII Remake actually was a white whale for a really long time.
Yeah.
I don't know what the current white whale is other than Chrono Trigger 3, but
Well,
you know.
Half-Life 3.
I love Chrono Cross
Yeah.
to pieces, okay? I played it long before I played Chrono Trigger, so...
It's a perfectly fine game. It's just a really bad Chrono Trigger sequel.
Yeah, it's... The way the two games are connected is the most convoluted bullshit I've ever seen in video game sequel history. And that's counting Kingdom Hearts. So, yeah.
Well, Kingdom Hearts for me isn't ever a thing about the games don't make sense. It's just that the games are dumb. Like, for example, I know that Roxas is Sora's nobody because Sora turned into a Heartless at the end of Kingdom Hearts 1, but he also doesn't look like Sora, despite all the other nobodies looking like their counterparts, because Ventus was also in Sora's heart when he turned into a Heartless, which is why Roxas looks like Ventus. I know that that's all true. It's just really, really stupid. So
You need
yeah.
you need a midquel and a prequel to explain the transition between 1 and 2.
And it's all about stuff that doesn't even really matter because Roxas dies 2 hours into the game anyway. So Oh, I know it probably matters more than I'm.
Yeah, I'm just
exaggerating
like
for comedic
I
effect,
don't
but-
care for it, but like
Yeah.
the stuff that happens in between Trigger and Cross is on a completely different level of
Yeah, no, it's
wow.
It was a lot of, we need to figure out a way for these games to interact because we want to call it a sequel, but we have no good leads because everything got wrapped up pretty nicely in Trigger. So, Dalton, that guy. Yeah, let's
Well,
fix it.
Chrono Trigger is basically written it's effectively a Dragon Quest game with a Final Fantasy battle system. Is basically what it is. So it's all
It's
wrapped
sort
up.
of. Its battle system is a little weird compared to even 16-bit Final Fantasy. I mean, I love it. I'm just saying it's weird compared if you're going from.
That's the quick and dirty one sentence way I like to describe it. Is it's
Yeah.
a Dragon Quest game with a Final Fantasy
I
battle
wouldn't
system.
really compare it to Dragon Quest outside of its art style, to be honest.
It's written by the same guy.
Maybe, but
No, not maybe. It's
no.
definitely-
What I'm saying is like there's too many differences in design between it and the way Dragon
No,
Quest tends to play
I would
out.
disagree because Dragon Quest is typically it definitely doesn't do the find X number of magical things in a semi non-linear part in the middle of the game and then you gotta go to the end. It doesn't have that structure, but the story structure is very similar in the sense that Dragon Quest games are told in vignette style. You go to a town, the town has its little side story, you do all that stuff, it's wrapped up, and then you go. Chrono Trigger has a very similar feeling. Where
Sort of. It's not quite that simple though, with all the time traveling shenanigans.
Yeah, but like each time line and
here
each
we are.
time period is very, very separate.
It's the room.
That's the thing.
Yay, it's the room.
But I'm not gonna look at it yet.
Come
No,
on.
no. What am I doing?
Louis,
Oh,
what
I'm
are you
looking for the
doing?
guy who was outside it, I think.
No, you're trying to see if the Korean barbecue platter still exists in the remake.
Oh yeah. That's the funniest part of the translation. There's a Korea in this fantasy universe.
Yeah.
Where?
On the overworld map, you know.
I mean, to be
Somewhere.
fair, the original Pokemon also mentioned South America, so
Yeah, but they retconned all that, which
Well,
makes me really sad.
the original Pokemon was technically supposed to be set in Japan. They just
Yeah.
sort of abandoned that after a few generations.
Yeah, after Generation 3, they basically just stopped referencing any of that. Like, they don't call Surge the Lightning American anymore or anything like that because they wanted to completely do away with it being in the real world.
Now he's just a lightning guy.
Yeah, he's just a lightning guy, you know. I forget what
they're
they
they're
call
lightning
him.
Unova.
They're using Unova.
I
So
don't
wouldn't that
think
just be
they
the lightning
call him
Unova?
specifically Unovan I guess Let's Go, Pikachu and Eevee are probably the new canon for Gen 1.
No, I think as early as Black and White too.
I guess they could have had him with the tournament calling him that, but yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on. This is the Bulbapedia will have the answer because they freaking write
Bulbapedia or
down
Maryland,
everything.
yeah.
Hold on.
This is another one of the choices that you can make that influences which quest line you take. You know, guessing.
Yeah, because I didn't have Sam on my playthrough. I had Madame.
Yeah, I got Sam on mine.
Yeah,
He's the Lightning Lieutenant now.
the Lightning Lieutenant LT Smash.
I've actually had Sam on both of my playthroughs so far. I haven't even seen Madam M's quest line yet. So I mean it's not a very long quest line regardless of who you pick. Wall Market doesn't have a whole lot of side quests until you come back here with Barrett later.
You do get different quests though
Yeah.
that exposes you to different
Things.
set pieces from the original game.
Yeah.
You know, you can't do it all at once now. Now they're segregated into different people.
Yeah. The other difference here is that you don't actually have to the number of quests you do here I don't think has any effect on the dresses that you get. What does have an effect on the dresses that you get are the quests that you did in Sector 5. Because apparently that influences Madam M's, decision as to whether or not to put more effort into Aerith's dress. She just
I think the wall market quests are what influences Aerith's dress.
no, she
Cloud's dress, I don't
no.
know.
Madam M specifically tells you, "Hey, I heard that you did all this work for the good people in Sector 5. I'm going to make you the best dress ever." Something along those lines, she says to you. So it's definitely the Sector 5 quests that influence Aerith's dress.
Also, hey, Harvey Dent, you mind playing for real this time?
So, since this is much more important than what we're talking about, in Pokemon, nobody officially says that Surge is from Unova, but one of the people says, like, I wonder if he's from Unova or something like that. However, he does say goddamn in English in the Japanese anime at a couple of points, which,
Cool.
you know,
And as we know, only Americans.
only
say
Americans
goddamn.
go, goddamn.
Damn.
Yeah, because nothing says, American transplant like someone who can't speak English well.
Wait, hold on. Now that I think about it, fucking, what was his name? Maximilian Pegasus in Yu-Gi-Oh!
He's always
think
talking
was-
English in the Japanese version, and it's always horrible English.
Yeah, I think he was American in the context of Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, he
I
was.
think so.
Yeah, he's an American game designer.
Along with Bandit Keith. Of
He's
course.
like the one character in the entire English dub who's actually performed better in English than he is in Japanese.
But
So-
in the English dub, he's just, I'm the standard, slightly gay-sounding fop character.
Well, yeah,
he's
but-
camp, and that's what
But he has that same feeling in Japanese, only it's terrible. So
I mean, it's just the sounding really foppish kind of bothers me now that I realize that the entire shtick is based off of like a homophobic kind of trope where we're gonna make the bad guy sound gay because gay
well,
equals bad.
I don't think he's supposed to sound gay exactly.
Well, that's where
That's why I say camp.
That's where the voice tone comes from, though. As a stereotype, though.
Lindsay Ellis did a video on it, I think, or she mentioned it in a video about Pocahontas, the Disney movie. Because
it's one of those that may not have been the intent, but the origin of that kind of vocal tone comes from a very bad stereotype.
Yeah, and ever since I learned that, I'm kind of like, whenever I
That's why Eric Stewart's James in Pokemon for a long time also sounded very much like that due to how over the top James is in that show.
Yeah, but James also is a less like, well,
I mean, it's less overdone than Pegasus was, but
yeah, and also he's legitimately comedic, I think, which also helps with it. Whereas Pegasus isn't really a comedic character. I guess you can kind of consider like his monsters somewhat comedic, but it's really just them being like, ha ha ha, Looney Tunes sucks, so I don't know. I don't think anybody will ever say that Yu-Gi-Oh is the height of writing. But,
No.
Yeah.
You can make arguments for GX, like towards the second half of it.
GX, I think, is underrated, all things considered.
If you get into the manga, though, Pegasus can be legitimately creepy. Like, this doesn't happen at all in the anime, even in the uncut version. But at one point, he traps Bandit Keith in an illusion where, because Bandit Keith had a history of playing actual Russian roulette with an actual gun.
Oh, that's caught me off guard when I first got there.
The teachers.
The teacher from the
who does the
orphanage,
honeybee dancing.
she alluded to going somewhere to fulfill a dream. It turns out this is where she went. She wanted to be a dancer. This doesn't actually serve any purpose. This is just, you can find her here, and it's a neat little
this
side
game
character
is such a
moment.
Persona 5 ripoff. Oh my god.
Persona 5 event at the Walmart.
But anyway, the illusion that Pegasus traps Bandit Keith in the manga, his hand grows a revolver barrel and forces itself to his head, and in the illusion, he shoots himself with his own finger gun.
Don't worry, Bandit Keith. I'll just summon your persona.
Wait a minute. Does that mean that 4Kids was actually ahead of the curve with the finger guns?
Oh my god.
So it's left totally up in the air as to whether or not Bandit Keith is actually killed by this illusion, because you never see Bandit Keith again ever in the manga. He doesn't come back like he does in the anime.
Considering how creepy and dark the manga originally was, I wouldn't be surprised if that was how he died.
But, in the anime, Pegasus just opens up a trapdoor beneath Bandit Keith's feet and drops him into the fucking ocean. So,
And he becomes a shadow duelist.
it's a little
It's mind controlled by Merrick.
weird, but...
One of the prerequisites for being mind controlled by me is you have to fall through a trap door that nobody can clearly survive. You
Okay,
did,
so the honeybee is kind of a weird character to have for like a sexualize for these kinds of things, because like I get the rabbit, like the bunny ears, because fuck like rabbits is a thing, but there's only one bee that gets to have sex in the hive, and it's the queen, and she has sex with basically every single one of the males, if I remember correctly, and then the males just fuck off and die because they're not useful otherwise. So it's like, I'm sure someone's into it, and good for you, I just don't think that they have the wide, broad appeal they're going for.
At least it's not a praying mantis themed cabaret club, okay?
Yeah, okay, but here's the thing. I think more people would be into that. I think there's a bigger market for that than weird orgy with your siblings and only one person gets to actually have sex.
Okay,
Sex
you
club.
don't know what Japanese fetishes are like, okay? Because
Well, I
that
know
would be
American
right at
fetishes
home
are
there.
already weird enough.
That would be
so-
right at home in hentai, I promise you. Anyway, the Honeybee Inn,
You are not ready for the Honeybee Inn.
Shit, I don't think I'm ready for the praying mantis in.
the Honeybee Inn was basically redone.
The praying mantis Inn is in Wutai.
Oh God. Far less popular somehow. I don't know how.
The Honeybee Inn was basically redone from the ground up for the remake. It barely resembles its original form at all.
The original version has some complications that wouldn't fly today.
You're talking about the bathhouse.
Yes.
I think it was just the bathhouse that made it complicated, because everything else
Not-
was...
Just the bathhouse.
I mean, there's some there is some kind of things that we would think are not really kosher by today's standards, both in the terms of does have a little bit of a homophobic bent, and also it's kind of like sexual assault-y in the way that it's written in several.
That's something I wanted to ask you guys. Like, in terms of and this is kind of a touchy subject, but in order to sell a place or a location in a form of fiction or media as lecherous or as devious, where do you think a line is crossed? Like, in terms of like trying to establish that?
It really just kind of depends on how hard what kind of story are you trying to tell in general, and what kind of person is running said establishment.
Yeah, because to me, I think it's also important that it's important to establish just like, no, this place is a piece of shit. And
Like
we
if
need
it's
to
run by a villain, then it can go a bit harder on it. Whereas
Yeah.
there are plenty of stories where the guy who runs the casino or something is kind of a jerk, but they join you because they're also against the evil government or something. So
Yeah. I think it depends on what you show, why you're showing it, and if it's necessary to do it that way. Because there are definitely stories that to be told about things like sexual assault and stuff like that. And I think that those stories definitely need to be told, but they shouldn't be played for humor, which is what the Honeybee Inn in the original game was trying to do. Like, oh, haha, it's funny, Cloud's in the hot tub with a bunch of big, burly, muscly guys. Whoa, they touched him inappropriately. Har, har, har. Like, that's not really funny. And at that same time, though, I think that people can put two and two together. And if you make the atmosphere as such that skeevy, uncomfortable things happen in this town, you don't have to specifically show it or
explicitly show it. Yes.
Yeah, you can. I think it's one of those things where less is more, and people are capable of reading.
I have a slightly different take on that, which is to say there can be humor in these types of settings, but the specific type of humor, well, first of all, there is the cultural difference, because in Japan, that kind of vaguely sexually assaulty kind of humor does generally get a laugh a bit more readily, but I think that has something to do. I think that has...
No, it's fine, because, did you know in Japan, the age of consent for honeybees is 36?
It's partly to do with, like, they you see it in anime a lot, where they can make a joke about a thing, but then in another scene with another character, it's played more serious. That's a little common in this kind of stuff.
I guess I should rework what I said then. Like, you can definitely make some jokes out of the skeevy area. I don't think that you should make a joke out of like sexual assault. That's just my personal line.
I kind of agree with you. The other thing though is that within a given style, humor will land better if tonal balance is always a thing. And in this particular style, I've said this earlier in the playthrough, I don't think the kind of jokes that they were going for in the original would have landed. like even in the Japanese sense of humor context, I don't think a live action version of the original game's Honeybee Inn would have been funny. I really do not think it would have been funny. I think it would have been ridiculous in a cringeworthy way to see a bunch of burly guys with 80s porn stashes jumping into a hot tub with you in this graphical style. So, no matter how you slice it, that kind of had to go. And now that I'm picturing it in my head, I'm imagining a universe where they tried to do that.
Yeah, everyone just has Tom Selleck mustaches.
Because that's what they looked like in the original game. They had
Burt
those,
Reynolds.
They had those mustaches, you know? And it's just like, no. Instead, what they gave us was completely new characters that have out there personalities, like Madam M here, who looks perfectly composed and dignified until you slightly piss her off, at which point she loses her shit completely. But you know what? This entire sequence is a joke with 3 punchlines, and I love it. She's interested in giving you a hand massage for some reason, and she does this vaguely mysticky thing where she learns something about you through your hands, and through that decides that you're the person she wants to recommend to the Coliseum so that she can win some sweet prize money off of you. But, you know, you have 3 choices here for which hand massage course you want to take.
Luxury one, yeah.
I mean, they're all funny. Every single one of these is funny in a different way. If you pick the poor man's course, she puts you through a goddamn torture routine.
Yeah.
It's just like...
All very sexual in nature. I remember when Derek was talking about, with Derek and Clement were doing the discussion podcast when this game was new, and how they uploaded the luxury course scene to Game Explain and they got flagged for content.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, these are all very perverse in nature. The luxury course is probably the most obviously, like, most sexualized one. I like to think of the poor man's course as just a masturbation session gone wrong. Because his hand is in pain at the end of the scene.
But the joke is, of course, no matter what scene you're watching or how weird it gets, she's literally just massaging your hand. So...
Yeah.
Well, there's definitely innuendo going on. She's like, first we're going to start with the tip. Ooh.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But like in the standard course, the middle course, she's just like really derisive at you for going the middle road. So even that one's kind of
Take no risk, do you?
But which one you choose does influence whether or not you get Madam M's course. Unfortunately, I picked too many other choices that lean me towards Sam. So I basically just wasted money to get to get a funny scene.
3,000 gil down the drain, yeah.
What happens if you get her course later?
It's just a different set of side quests.
The funniest bit comes at the end here, where for no particular reason you are put in control of Aerith for like 5 seconds, so that you can watch from the outside Cloud's reaction to all this. And so you're standing here as Aerith, like, so how was it? And Cloud's just like zombie walking toward the wall. Or he looks like completely horror-struck and traumatized if you pick the poor man's course. But the funniest thing that happens here was a complete frickin' accident. Because, like, oh, look, Madam M is walking out, and she's gonna talk to Cloud about what just went on behind closed doors. Maybe a little teasing like, right? But oh no, I'm standing over here. I need to get out of Madam M's way. I should back up. Oh no.
Oh, she pushes you into the...
Oh no. I'm stuck. Help.
Oh, but then she pops out of existence.
She pops out.
Yeah, there she's there.
How, Cloud, I'm being held here against my will.
Don't worry.
It's one of Don Corneo's diabolical
Because
traps.
it so happens that to progress the scene, you actually have to talk to Madam M. So even if you're trapped there, it's just a little funny thing. But
Okay. Thank God.
oh man. Anyway,
You cannot go dressed like that.
So, Madam M agrees to sponsor us for the audition. But in order to do that, we need to get a dress. Instead of like going on a mad quest to get the drunken dressmaker to make us a dress, we are instead.
Well, we do run into the drunken dress guy.
Is that a typo where it matter what I think?
It's more like it matter what I think.
You're removing the does because the does is already implied.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of like, so what do you think? It matter what I think?
Yeah, that
sort of
still
thing.
sounds dumb.
It sounds a bit weird, but it's technically
Yeah.
fine.
It sounds better spoken than written.
Yeah, it's better spoken than written. It's a tone of voice kind of thing. But, yeah. So, we also need to get a dress for Cloud, though. And obviously, Madam M isn't going to do that for us.
Why do we need a dress for Cloud?
No, we
though?
don't. We get scouted by Andrea because of the Coliseum.
Right. In this version, Aerith doesn't automatically decide right away that you should be getting a dress yourself. She decides that after she gets her own dress in this version. I forgot. They finangled the sequence of events there. So it's like Aerith gets the dress, but by that point, Cloud has learned a little bit more about what's going on in Don Corneo's mansion, and he's having serious second thoughts about letting her go in alone. So you have to go get a dress for Cloud after that. And it so happens that at that point, Andrea Rodea has taken an interest in Cloud. And you know what? The funny thing is, Andrea Rodea gives you a dress without really listening to what the situation is. So it's just like he randomly decides to dress you up in a dress. But yeah.
It should also be said that having depending on who you the chain of quests you have also affects the encounters you have in the Coliseum.
Oh yes.
It's not just a matter of having the different quest lines; it also affects who you fight in the Coliseum as well. We can get more into that in the next part. I guess.
Yeah, I suppose so.